What's going on? This is Jimmy.
And this is Rachel.
Relationship Real Talk. Today, episode 2.
Number 2, baby.
So what we talking about today, baby?
Parlez-vous français?
Oui, madame.
We're talking about languages now.
Are you bilingual?
Are you bilingual? How many languages do you speak?
And we're not talking about your native tongue, are we?
No, although that's always nice. We are talking about your love.
Talking about your love language, huh?
Yeah.
So, when you say love language, please help us understand what you're talking about. What do you mean, love language?
What I mean is we all have things that when we receive it, we feel love. But in general, as human beings, there's basic categories of love languages that we each have and respond to, and that's how we receive love, and many times that's how we give love.
So when you say how we receive love, how many love languages are there? And where did you get this concept from?
Well, there's this book. It's been around for some time now. You guys have probably seen it before. The 5 Love Languages, The Secret to Love That Lasts by Gary Chapman. It's a New York Times bestseller. It's an oldie but a goodie. I mean, the principles are very clear. They're applicable to any situation with a significant other, and something that I try to live by. It's tough sometimes, but certainly try to communicate.
I tell you, one of the things that I find amazing about the 5 love languages is that we all share the languages. However, some languages are more prevalent than others in each individual. And what makes this love language thing so powerful is because once you take this love language quiz, 9 times out of 10 you can say without any hesitation, yes, that's my love language. When I took the quiz, my top 2 love languages were quality time and physical touch. And so once I read that, I was like, oh, that's definitely mine. No question asked.
Definitely.
Were those 2 mine? And what were yours, baby?
I mean, you didn't even need to take the test. We knew that. Mine were what we should have done was quiz each other to see if we remembered. But I think we know we talk about it so much. My number 1 love language is acts of service.
Mm-hmm.
My earliest memory of that is just seeing my dad work around the house and build things. He was a carpenter and a painter, and that's what I associated with love, or being loved, or feeling love. And I would say my second one, even though it's second, I wouldn't say it's a strong second. It was words of affirmation. Doesn't mean I have to walk around being affirmed as far as, what I look like or anything like that, but words of affirmation as it relates to consideration, being considered, being heard, I would say that was my second one.
So, when we talk about the general description of these love languages, what would you tell a person? When we're talking about, say for instance, when you talk about words of affirmation, when we speak of words of affirmation, what comes to mind immediately when you think of words of affirmation?
Well, basically, these are words that encourage, affirm, appreciate. You empathize. You're actually listening to someone, not just trying to solve it or get your point across, but you're really showing that you're listening to someone.
All right. And, also to just words of encouragement. I think for most men, I don't know about women, but for most men, that is a powerful, powerful tool. When you have a man who's genuinely trying to provide for his family, trying to do what it takes to, provide for his family and put his family in a better situation and to be a good dad or a good husband, it's not that he needs that every day, but he does want to hear that from the wife. And I found that not only talking to others, but even in my personal life, sometimes we hear so much negative what we're not doing until we don't hear enough positive of what we are doing.
Right.
Because it sounds like, because of, you know, the repeated problems or issues you have, that you're not appreciative for the things that we do bring to the table. And so I find words of affirmation very, very powerful. You know, and the scripture says what? Life and death
is in the tongue.
Hey.
And let me just say this, sometimes as women, and people can tag in, I'm looking to see if I see any comments, but sometimes women might feel as if, well, you know, I don't need to tell him, you know, I appreciate you cleaning up, or I appreciate you doing this, or I appreciate you doing that, because, shoot, look at all this that I'm doing, taking care of the kids, and I'm working too, and I'm this, and I'm that. And sure enough, we are. But I think, as opposed to thinking of it as a man or woman thing, I think it really should be what does your significant other, what is their love language? And if their love language is words of affirmation, which many men tend to be, then you need to speak to that. Not so much because I'm not going to give you your props because you're a man, or give you your props because you're a woman, but if you love that person, you want to be able to speak the language that they can receive.
Exactly. And so we said words of affirmation, then we have what? Quality time?
Yes, quality time. And, you know, with quality time, we're talking about uninterrupted and focused conversation, one-on-one time. What that means is even the kids need to be in on it. You know, Bobby, Sandy, Susie, Mommy and Daddy are having this. Why are you looking at me crazy?
Girl, I don't know a black child in this world named Bobby and Sandy.
Why? Why do we have to go there, people? This is what we call, this is a commercial side break. Majoring in the minors.
Bobby.
It doesn't matter what their names are. But whatever their names are, Bebe, Shaquela,
there we go.
Pookie, Dim.
Lil Red.
Lil Red. You want to tell them, you know what? At this particular time in the week, or this particular time, this is when we spend our quality time together. And I think it's important to be intentional as parents to make sure you have something for the kids to do. Because, I mean, I think it would be a bad idea to say, oh, we're going to get our time regardless. And the kids are, you know, hanging from the rafters. You don't know what's going on in the other room. So the whole household should be structured in such a way where everybody is taken care of. But this is time, whether you're doing it in-house or outside of the house, of spending time together.
And one of the key things that I do want to mention about these love languages, and I think I've sort of alluded to it earlier, each of us have particular love languages that mean more to us than others, right? For me, again, it was quality time and physical touch. So although I like, words of affirmation, receiving gifts, acts of service, I like those things, but they're on the lower end of the important spectrum to me.
Right.
On the most important spectrum is quality time and physical touch. So for me, and I know for others that we've, when we've done our workshops, people exclaim, excitedly and quickly, hey, this is my love language. And it makes sense to them that when that's done, they feel the most wanted, they feel the most appreciated.
Right. And people, please, since he mentioned, you can tell us, you can post your love languages. I don't see any comments or anyone that has tuned in, but let us know if you can hear us, if you can see us, so that we can look at your comments and be able to see what your love languages are. But I do think, as you're talking about, love languages, we've talked about quality time, we've talked about words of affirmation. What's another one we want to talk about?
Quality time, words of affirmation. We have physical touch.
Physical touch. That one's pretty straightforward. What that means is there's some kind of nonverbal use of body language and touch to show love. There are ways to show love. It's just how you're doing it.
Right.
So
and let's clear this up because physical touch doesn't necessarily equate to sex.
That's right. Amen.
Sometimes it can be open displays of affection, holding hands, hugging. If you're at home, just cuddling with each other, things of that nature. where you're actually making physical contact with the one you love. Sometimes it could be just, caressing the head or rubbing the chest or, just your arm. I mean, whatever it is that they like, your significant other likes, who has an affinity toward physical touch, that's the thing that we should want to do, because why? It brings the best out of our significant other.
That's right. And even when that significant other has gotten on your last nerve, like that last one that's just barely holding on, even if it's just a brush on the shoulder, with maybe a little pat, you've gotten your touch in. Me. You don't want the pat? No. That's touch.
No, don't pat me.
Sometimes people can be a little demanding with their love languages. But when you think about it, if you neglect that person from it, it's like literally you can be feeling like they have what they need, but they may not feel that way. And, my husband and I have talked about this on many occasions, but it's like giving a thirsty person water or a hungry person, or no, I should say the reverse. A hungry person, water. And a thirsty person, food. Yeah, right. You want to give a thirsty person water. But it's like giving them the opposite. Doesn't matter how thirsty you are. If you're getting food, that's not going to help you.
Right.
All right? And the reverse is the same. And so, the interesting thing about these love languages are, if it's not your own love language, many times it's very difficult to just start speaking that language. Just like if you went to France or another country, a Spanish-speaking country, you're trying to take out your translator just to figure out what to say. And you may not get it right. You're not going to get it right the first time. You may not get it right the second time. But if you started to live in that country, slowly but surely, you will start to learn the language and be able to acclimate to the language.
And what's interesting, in the book, The 5 Love Languages, that's one of the things it brings out, that normally what happens is my love language is opposite from hers. And when I want to show her love, 9 times out of 10, I show her love by giving her what I like. In other words, when I want her to feel special, what do? Try to spend quality time with her or physically touch her. So that's not her. If those aren't her love languages, it's not that she's not going to be somewhat appreciative, but again, that's like giving her food when she's actually thirsty.
That's right. I need you to cut a grass. I need you to wash a dish.
Cut a grass.
Wash a dish. Trim a bush. Fold a clothes.
You sound like you want the yard man.
Listen, the yard man gets a prize at the end.
What, that paycheck?
Yard man gets a prize at the end. We on Facebook Live, we can't put it all out there. But y'all know what we talking about. But you coming up in that piece and you ain't working.
Yeah, something gonna have to give.
It's just not. It's not appealing to me.
Yeah, and that's. I think that's something that all of us have to realize when it comes to these love languages. The love languages are they seem simple when you read them, but they are really difficult to do because we do struggle with the whole concept of meeting someone else's needs. Our first initial attempt, we're going to give them what we like. And I mean, and it's, it does get frustrating after a while, especially when you said, thank you, but, I really don't like that. I mean, I sort of want this. And the person keeps giving you the opposite.
And some people are not going to say, thank you, but I don't want this. Like, and I know for me, there have been times that I knew you did something for me, or there was something that was really your love language, and it came my way, and I didn't want to just shut you down because I knew you were coming from a good place. Mm-hmm. However, when we're in a place where, it can be intimate doesn't have to mean sexual,
right?
But like we're having an intimate conversation about our needs, then that's a good opportunity to kind of say, these are the kind of things I like, because you have to be very, very careful with these love languages and what you are saying to your significant other when they're not meeting them and they were really coming from a good place. Because what it could do is it could completely turn them off from even wanting to do something the next time for you. So I think as a couple, like, you really have to be patient in the process of giving them their love language and meeting their love language.
What do you mean, be patient?
You have to be patient, like, kind of like what we talked about. Like, when you go to another country, you know, I may go in, parlez-vous français, and you're just like, yeah, what she said. Why? Because you're not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we should certainly see some attempts, some good attempts at trying to respond to that person's love language. But I think it would be unfair to expect somebody to just come right in, out the back and just like do everything perfect as it relates to responding to your love language. You do have to be perfect. I mean, you do have to be patient.
Right.
I think we might want to go ahead and mention we had 2 more.
Yeah, we have 2 more. We have receiving gifts.
Gift receiving. So basically, I mean, it doesn't mean that someone has to go and spend money, but basically some sort of thoughtfulness or making your spouse a priority. It could even be speaking purposefully. Something that makes your spouse feel like you took some time to think about them. It could be you fixed dinner for them.
Mm-hmm.
You may not cook very well. And that's when you might have to end up going out to eat. But those who appreciate receiving gifts will truly accept it as far as receiving the thought that went into it to make you feel appreciated and special.
Well, look, for those of you who are tuned in, if you know what your love language is, go ahead and key it in the comment box, and let us know what your love language is. And of course, we're not going to ask you if your spouse or whatever is meeting that need, but at least you all can identify what it is you like most as it relates to your love language. I think that is very important. Also, too, for those of you who are going to be actively engaged in this Facebook Live, we are going to give you a copy of the book. So the first person to inbox me or Rachel with your name and address, we're going to send you a copy of the 5 love language, so you and your husband or your significant other can actually take the test and go through it.
Right. Don't inbox our personal Facebook pages. Inbox our joint Jimmy and Rachel Rogers Facebook page.
So go to Jimmy and Rachel Rogers and inbox that page, your name, address, and phone number.
And you will get this book.
And you'll get a copy. We'll send that copy out to you this week. So we'll be looking for your Facebook message. So,
all right. What's the last one? What's left?
The last one is acts of service.
Well, we kind of did talk about that, but
briefly.
We talked about it in terms of what I would like. But basically, you're using actions like, how can I help? Wanting to see how you can, what is it that you can do to help them, to partner with them. They start to feel as if they are not alone in carrying out something.
Gotcha.
So the thing about these love languages are sometimes people tend to kind of make it seem like it's not really a big deal because it's been around so long. So it almost seems like, oh yeah, this again. But many times we're back at it again because we're not actually
speaking each other's language.
Speaking each other's love language.
Right.
And as we talked about last week, none of this can happen if you're not connected. There has to be a connection, because guess what? Some people could be like, shoot, I don't want to speak your love language. I've been loving on you all these years and you haven't been doing right by me, so I don't want to anymore. And that other person may feel the same way, and they end up in a toxic situation where the last thing they want to hear about is a love language. So that connection between those two individuals to where you want to be able to make that person feel loved is important.
And here's some advice that I would like to put out there for you all. If you find yourself, or if you know that you're in that space, we call it a crazy cycle.
Right.
somebody has to initiate getting out of the crazy cycle.
Right.
So somebody has to be the bigger person, take the high road, as Michelle Obama would say. When they go low, we go high. And say, you know what, I'm going to do what I know is required of me.
That's right.
And I always like to take things back to a biblical standpoint. Ephesians 5:22 through 28 says this: husbands, go all out in love for your wives, exactly as Christ did for the church, a love marked by giving, not getting. Christ's love makes the church whole. His words evoke her beauty. Everything he does and says is designed to bring the best out of her, dressing her in dazzling white silk, radiant with holiness. And that is how husbands ought to love their wives. They're really doing themselves a favor, since they're already one in marriage.
So basically,
Mm-hmm.
you have a responsibility initially to go all out for me.
Mm-hmm.
It says, dressing her in dazzling white silk.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to have silk, but I love linen.
Well, see, there you go again, you unlearned,
What's that?
unlearned person, you.
Did he just call me unlearned?
No, it said everything he does is designed to bring the best
Dressed
out of her. Dressing her in.
Yes.
Right. So what it is actually saying is his actions are bringing so much out of her
The
till it
best out
looks
of her.
like she is just radiant.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
yes.
not literally talking about going
I know
to
that,
put her-
baby.
yeah,
I was
right.
I was making a little funny,
Just
but I do
making
like
sure,
linen.
'cause,
I do like white linen.
Me too. I like linen too. It's pretty cool.
No, that this time my husband's, baby.
Yeah.
But what's the challenge? What is the challenge with the 5 love languages? We touched on it a little bit already.
Well, again, typically, because yours is words of affirmation and acts of service.
Not necessarily in that order.
Right, not necessarily, but those are your top 2. My top 2 is physical touch and quality time, which that's not near your top, right?
That's correct.
So guess what? When you're trying to make me feel good, you're gonna lean toward your 2 love languages, your top 2 love languages.
Right.
Even though I'm appreciative, I may be appreciative at first, but what I really want is quality time and physical touch, and vice versa. For me, my natural inclination is to try to give you quality time and physical touch when you really want words of affirmation and acts of service.
That's
so
right.
that is the initial battle. The initial battle is forcing yourself, or training yourself, should I say, to not try to give them what you like rather than giving them what they like.
The hard thing is leaning towards something that doesn't feel natural to you.
That's it.
That doesn't feel authentic to you.
Mm-hmm.
And stepping outside of that comfort zone, because we do get comfortable in loving the way we think we should love.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think you also touched on this, like you really do have to be willing to kind of deny yourself for the sake of that person you said you love or you want to spend the rest of your life with, and saying, you know what, I could sit here all day long and speak my love language to this individual, but that's like trying to speak English to a person that only understands Spanish.
Right. And let me read something that Ephesians says about the wives. It says, wives, understand and support your husbands in ways that show your support for Christ. The husband provides leadership to his wife the way Christ does to his church, not by domineering, but by cherishing. So just as the church submits to Christ as he exercises such leadership, wives should likewise submit to their husbands. And I know personally, because I talk to too many couples, and especially a lot of women, and the first thing they're going to yell out is, well, what if he ain't following Christ? Well, that's your problem now that you done said I do. See, you're supposed to take account for that prior to saying I do, right? That's not a get out of jail free card for not being submissive. If he's trying to lead you down a road of destruction, that's something totally different.
Right.
But that's normally not the case. The case is I'm unhappy with you. Mm-hmm. You're not doing everything that I think you should be doing, or maybe you're not even doing what the Bible says you should be doing. So now I'm just gonna rebel.
But I will say this: that is the case sometimes. But I'm gonna disagree
And
with
most
you
times.
just a little bit. I do believe there are a lot of cases, and Lord knows I've experienced this myself, not with you, but there was no indicator that person was not going to continue to follow Christ. And so you did marry someone or get with somebody that had shown you differently. The fruits had been consistent and the fruits were right. But what does happen when that individual, because we talk about this too, where, the devil can use anybody to within the marital union to go left, right? And going back to that, when they go low, you go high. That's really, really difficult. But at the same time, that scripture, it is in the Bible. I have nothing to do but to receive it. However, I will say there are a lot of men out there that are not following Christ. And the wives are watching that. And in essence, there's a couple of things that ends up happening. They lose respect for their husband. And then what generally couples with that is they're not going to submit because of what they're seeing of the fruits of their significant other.
And so what that normally does is make them not follow Christ by not still
right.
The
still
deal
have
is
a responsibility.
There's a level of maturity that has to come into play when it comes to this Christian walk. Because here's the reality. The reality is people are not going to always do what you want them to do.
Oh, hey, you can't make them do
and
what
so
you want
we
them to
have
do.
to take on this role and responsibility of being responsible and mature adults, saying, I am still going to do what I am expected to do, even though this is painful.
It's painful. It's killing me. And Rochelle's Cuisine Muhammad, she makes a comment. Being selfless is very important. And I think you hit the nail on the head there. Like, who likes to feel as if, because sometimes, let's be honest, people, this is relationship real talk. Let's be honest. Sometimes when you're the one being humble, being selfless, you can start to feel like you're being run over.
Exactly.
And who wants to sit back and feel like somebody is just taking complete advantage of you?
I'm a doormat right
Not
now.
me. Like, even if you're a Christian, whether you're a Christian or non-Christian, whatever you are, nobody wants to feel like a doormat.
Exactly.
Nobody wants to feel like, oh, I'm going to follow you and you're going to continue to dog me out. No.
Yeah.
So it's a very steady line that you walk when you're trying to be selfless, be humble, take the high road. All those things do not feel good. But at the end of the day, it goes back to your relationship with God first and your relationship with that person and the connection that you guys have made. And are you still both committed to that union that you had and those vows that you made and the commitments that you made to one another? Because
the reality is, just like you said, this is relationship real talk. The reality is we're not going to always be feeling those warm and fuzzies throughout our relationship.
Ain't that the truth?
And so we have to rely on that vertical connection with God so we can make that horizontal connection with our spouse. Sometimes your spouse literally grinds the nerves that lie within your nervous system.
Yes.
So you have to rely on God to help you pass those emotions. You know what I'm saying? And once God helps you pass those emotions, now it's that humbling of thyself that God talks about. He says, humble yourself, which is an indicator that if you don't do it, I'm going to do it, right?
Yes.
And a lot of us like to say, oh, it was her fault or his fault that this, and that didn't happen. But what is your responsibility?
Right. And
we have to go back to that and understanding that's how these love languages play into either the building or the tearing down of our relationships. If I am going to focus the majority of my energy on what Rachel is not doing, I promise you I'm going to neglect doing what I should be doing.
Yes.
That's a promise.
That's right.
So we have to make sure that we put on our big girl pants or our big boy pants and so we can live the life that's not always easy to live. You know, and people are going to struggle with that.
Yes, and let me just mention something to piggyback off something you said. And Rochelle made another comment. It's interesting how opposite attractions are always placed together. I don't know if she maybe was referring to how we have different love languages, but I was talking about how the book, The 5 Love Languages, brings out that in all the research that they've been doing, the majority of the time, it's people that have different love languages from each other that are attracted to one another. And it went even deeper than that, and it talked about how many of us, first of all, you start to build and learn those love languages from childhood. And then many times there are certain voids that you might feel, certain holes within us that we have, and you meet someone and you feel like at that time that person is filling that void, and you go through that honeymoon period, and then after a while that honeymoon period starts to fizzle out, the truth comes to the surface, it rises to the surface, and you realize, hold up, I'm not pleased. My needs are not being met. And Shaquita Reese Beatty, Officer Beatty, she said, I had to learn to submit even when I felt my husband wasn't worthy of my submissiveness. And it's because I love God.
That is the most
powerful. She said, I had to focus on myself and pray for him. Officer Beatty, you just gave me goosebumps on that one.
Yeah.
Because that's where the rubber meets the road.
Exactly.
Because I think, like you mentioned earlier, when you try to change that other person or try to make that person do something, it's like you trying to run up against this wall. First of all, it's futile because you're not going to knock it down.
Right.
Because you know men can be hard-headed sometimes. A. B, in the midst of that, you're going to hurt yourself.
Exactly.
When it's all said and done. But many times, it's very hard for us to focus on ourselves. And in the trainings that we do, a lot of the activities really are set up for everyone to do introspection. Because you know how we do. We go to a marriage thing. I'm going with my husband. Good. I hope they say something where he can get his act together because he's a hot mess and he need to fix this and that. He thinking the same thing, when in actuality, you probably both a little messed up in some areas.
Right.
Some people a lot of messed up in a lot of areas.
Why do you keep touching
and you
me?
Have maybe you just happen to be right here. But you got to be willing to look within yourself so that you can start to change, and hopefully by beholding, he can become or she can become changed.
Right. And I think that's the whole purpose of these love languages, because the love languages are going to test you. They're going to push you, because there are times when we want to take a vacation from being a spouse. And
that sounds like a book.
This covenant doesn't have a vacation or expiration date on it.
Have mercy.
You are a full-time employee, and often, and I'm just going to say this, and I have to say this to a few clients every now and again. It's like I hear people complain about certain things, certain aspects of their relationships, and I have to tell them this: you sound like a part-time worker who wants full-time benefits. You don't want to do the work that a spouse is supposed to do, but you want to receive all of the benefits that a spouse is supposed to receive. And that just speaks to our selfish nature as human beings. And most of us are selfish and not even aware of it, because we've been doing it for so long. We think that's the norm. But you normally figure it out when you start reading things like the 5 love languages, and you have to focus your energies on producing and providing for your spouse. And if the spouse is doing the same thing, now you'll start to see your marriage take newer heights.
Right.
But what typically is happening in our relationships are, we're so thirsty for whatever it is we're thirsty for, we're not even focused on doing anything for our spouses. We only want them to do for us.
Yeah, and the conversation just has to change, because I think we're so inundated with this culture, whether what we see on TV, videos, YouTube, Facebook. I think people think when they get married that getting married and loving each other is enough to just take them on through.
Yeah, and
We should be able to live happily ever after. They don't really understand.
well, those lies been told in the church too.
Yeah, definitely. But they don't
All you
understand.
need is love.
All you need is love.
Lies.
Yeah, love, especially agape love, that unconditional love, that's the stuff that we all struggle with, you know. Because that unconditional love means there's some mess that went down for real, and you still got to love that person. But I think what I was getting at, I think you made me lose my train of thought, was when it comes to the things, that's what I was going to say. When you think about a relationship that is thriving and growing, you have to feed it. And whatever you feed grows. Whatever you starve dies. And if you just think that you can just be on this flight, this marital flight, where you're just like, oh yeah, we just flying. You hadn't stopped putting no gas in. You hadn't checked. You hadn't opened up, under the hood to see what's going on.
You hadn't checked the tires.
You hadn't checked the tires. You hadn't even changed the tires. You hadn't balanced the tires. How do you expect the relationship to continue to survive?
Thrive.
To thrive. And
yeah.
the conversation has got to change with marriage couples and with partners in general, because we got to stop thinking that being in a relationship is a thing of I'm always going to feel comfortable and I'm always going to feel loved.
Right.
Because it's not about feeling, it's about principle.
What?
Why are you looking surprised?
Say that one more time.
Why are you trying to show out?
I'm just saying, say that one more time.
No, you said you looking like you shocked or something.
Girl,
I've always believed in principle.
That was deep. That went to my chest.
Where did it start?
Ankles. I was just wading in the water.
No, but it's true. I mean, it's based on our principles, and I'm not saying that emotions don't play a part in, feeling empathy, sympathy, and all those things of that nature. You don't want to go around emotionless. However, when it comes to that thing where you have to stick it in, stick it out, push through, move up to the next level in your marriage, that's some principle.
Right. We have a listener, Aaron. Is it Aaron Mills? Said that
Arian Mills.
I came late, but what is the title of the book?
And where can I buy it?
Yes.
This message is so timely. This is the 5 Love Languages.
You just won the book. Go ahead and inbox us. Go to our Facebook page, Jimmy and Rachel Rogers. Put your name and address and give us an email address, and we're going to send you a copy of the book. You were the first person to ask about this book. So, Mr. Mills, we're going to give this to you. All right?
Arian or Mrs.
Oh, Mrs. Mills. I'm sorry.
All right. She said, what? She's got the hallelujah and the fist. And guess what? For those of you who do want the book, you can go to Amazon, sure.
Yep, it's on Amazon.
Probably all kinds of bookstores.
All of the Christian bookstores.
This has been around for a long time. It is a bestseller. This company, here's what I do love about this company. They want this message to get around. And so they provide us with books.
Yeah, they've assisted us with all of our workshops, and it's been a blessing.
With our workshops, and because they want as many marriages to thrive. Because at the end of the day, and it gives me goosebumps every time I think about it, when Jimmy and I started this journey of relationship building, we did relationship training for schools. We've done it. He's done it for other companies, and those are necessary. Don't get me wrong. However, what we started to realize was there were so many marriages that were hurting, that were suffering. We know the challenges that we have. We're very transparent about the fact that we come, we speak, we have a message that God has given to us, but we have our own challenges, bless his heart, within our marriage. And so, at the end of the day, stronger marriages strengthen the family. Stronger families strengthen the community. Stronger communities strengthens us all. Right. So that will impact your work, your church, whatever walk of life that you're walking through. Those marriages being strong is what keeps us all together.
And that is so, so true. Baby, I mean,
what?
You really diving on in the Olympic-sized pool today with your deepness, huh?
But, I'm going to need you to act like, first of all, We're going to act like we ain't on camera for a second. You need to remember who you married.
Uh-oh.
Because this person that you married,
Mm-hmm.
clearly you saw something within she
Mm-hmm.
that attracted you. And it was more than physical.
And I still see it.
That's right. So I'm going to need you in front of these folk to not act new.
Oh.
And
Well,
not,
I'm just working on my 2 crowns because Lord knows when I get through this one, he gonna give me 2 crowns.
people, we trying to keep this. We really trying to keep this right. We trying to stay focused on the 5 love languages. They don't need to see us air out. We gonna go viral, baby, in a minute. We about to go viral in here if he don't cut it out.
Oh boy. Okay, Ariane, we're going to send this out to you this week. Thank you so much. We got your information, and we truly, truly do appreciate it. And I hope that this book helps you and your significant other.
You're going to send it to her, right?
Yeah.
You're going to take care of that?
I'm going to send it to her
Okay,
this
we got to
week.
make sure who's doing what, you know. Everybody got to be assigned a job to do.
Yeah. I'm just letting her know that, you know, we got her. We got her covered.
We got you.
So let me ask you this about love languages. If love languages in and of themselves is about each spouse focusing on the needs of their significant other, what prevents us from actually just doing it?
I think it was said in here. Who was that was talking about? Oh, Rochelle, being selfless.
Mm-hmm.
You know, besides just or being selfish.
Mm-hmm.
And besides that, I think there's a certain. I think many times our love language is our default.
Mm-hmm.
So it really takes. I like to use the terminology hard reset.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a reset to stop and be intentional about speaking to someone's love language. And I think this can segue us right into the benefits of it. But because it is not my love language, because I care about you, because we have a connection, because I want you to feel loved, I have to start seeing and understanding what does that mean. Like, one of the activities that I remember us doing is having the couples talk to one another to find out, like, I can think I know what quality time looks like.
Right.
Or what physical touch looks like. I mean, I kind of know what physical touch looks like for you. But, Lord help me. But quality time for me might be, we're out in the kitchen washing dishes together. All right? I'm just using that as an example. I know that's not your real thing.
I get it.
But that could be it. But for him, it might be us in the room and he's laying on my lap and I'm rubbing his head.
Sounds like a plan.
Who would have thought that would be something that I get a twofer? He's getting physical touch, rub on the head. That's all. At the end of the day, they like little boys. That's all they want is just somebody, Mama, rub my head for me, please. Sure, no problem. Baby, you know you just got your physical touch for the night. I done touched on you all night. Physical touch, as well as that time spent. So you might want to start engaging in that conversation of what it looks like and do not argue about it. Like, I think that's a frustrating thing when one person is voicing what quality time looks like for them. With my husband, sometimes I would get frustrated with him because I'd be like, what does that look like for you? And I think he thinks I'm a mind reader, like I'm supposed to figure it out. I'm like, just tell me what it looks like exactly so that I can do that. And so when you're actually able to, if somebody tells you, no, that's not quality time, that's this. The person is telling you what they need. Mm-hmm. As long as the request is within reason, it is reasonable, it's attainable, then why not?
And please don't fall into this trap. Just because you're not comfortable with it does not mean it's impossible or unattainable. It just means that that's just something you're not that's not something you're accustomed to doing or you are used to doing on a regular basis. And I think sometimes we fall into that trap. Well, this is not what I normally do, so it can't be right. Nobody else wanted that from me. Well, my name is not nobody else, you know. And so I think when we get a mentality that, hey, I want to please my spouse. And the best gift, if those of you who love gift giving, the best gifts are the gifts that the people said they wanted, not the ones you think are best for them. And I think somebody needs to hear that again. The best gift for a person is the gift that they've told you they want, not the one you think is best for them. And that's the mistake most of us make. We want to give them what we think is best for them. But the payoff for speaking each other's language is a greater sense of connection. When she's happy because I'm meeting her needs of words of affirmation and acts of service, my hope and desire is that she's going to then feel a little bit more connected to me, which is probably going to motivate her more to do the physical touch and the quality time. Those things really do feed off of each other. That's what happens when we get out of that crazy cycle and we start
moving
generating
into the energizing cycle.
Yes.
Where you energize your marriage. And let me just add something to what you said, because I think my third one on the love language list was gift giving or gifts. It doesn't mean like I need someone to buy me things. I think the exception to what you said when it came to gifts, when it comes to love language, yes, you want to be able to respond to that love language in the way the person can receive it. However, like for me, if you got me a gift and it wasn't something I particularly wanted, but the mere fact that you thought about me enough to pick it up for me, and it wasn't even something I thought about, I might even ended up liking it and I never thought about it. Why? Because it's what comes behind the gift giving. It's the thoughtfulness and consideration that came behind it. So everyone is different. I already know, I've already learned my lesson with my husband. Since gift giving is not on his list, he actually misses out on lots of things when I go shopping. I mean, I still have occasionally, still brought him some stuff and he wears it. But because I see a slight, like whether it be the corner of his nose that raises or something, I'm like, he's just not going to be able to benefit from this right now, because I don't want to get my feelings hurt when he seems like he doesn't appreciate it. Whereas if he had brought something to me, there have been a few things where I'm like, this is not my thing. But you know what? My husband was thinking about me. Thank you so much. And I might wear it once a year.
And I'm not offended. I'm not offended if you see something if I bring you something and you say you don't like it. My goal for getting it was not, was predicated on I wanted to do something nice for you, right? Mm-hmm. But I understand, Jimmy understands that the best gift for you is the one you really like. Right? So if you tell me, babe, I don't really like this style, I'll be like, okay, well, let's go get what you want. You know what I'm saying? Let's go get something in the style that you want. Because ultimately, that's what I was shooting for.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm not offended if you go, I really don't like that one. And I'm like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah, I think that's what makes us different. Because you're not really a surprise person. I like surprises. So I don't like to know what I'm going to get. I like to and I've told you this before, many times I'll just observe. I'll listen to the things that you say, like, man, I really want this. There's a lot of things you want that's just, it's not even in my budget,
It is in your budget. You just it may take you a little longer to get it.
There's some things, let me finish, because baby, you interrupted me. There's some things that you asked for, and I'm just like, boy, he sure got he act like he don't see our bank account. And so I'm like, I can't afford to give him that right now. But I do try to watch and listen to the things that he says. And when he does that for me, so for me, it's all about your perspective and the type of person that you are. Because if you were to say, oh, baby, you don't like that, let's go find, I don't really want to know. I like to be surprised, and even more pleasantly surprised when it's like, wow, I really like this. My husband got me this. I would have never thought of it. So it's about perspectives as well.
Listen, Miss Bailey said, my husband loved motorcycle riding. He was always with his friends. I wanted time with him. He kept asking to ride or get my own bike. I wouldn't for a long time. It started to create bitterness. So I got a bike. He taught me how to ride. He had the biggest smile on his face because he was proud of me. Now we ride our bikes together. This has become a time of bonding for us. He helped us date, love deeper, and our bond that much stronger. Now listen.
Wow. That's good stuff.
Beatty, let me just tell you this. Whenever you step outside of your comfort zone, that's where you will find your success level. See, we spend too much time inside of our comfort zones, don't want to do something else. You deciding to go ahead and purchase that bike or get that bike, learn how to ride, now you're getting exactly what you wanted, which is quality time with your husband, and he's winning because that's what he loves doing as well too. So now you all have something, and we call it shared activities that you all do together. Every couple has to have something that they enjoy doing together. You know, that activity that they love doing together.
And you know what's beautiful about what you said, Officer Beatty, is you actually got a twofer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because he likes riding bikes, so that appealed to how he, you know, enjoys spending his time. And you got that quality time that you wanted. Mm-hmm. And from what I know of you, you really enjoy, you know, being part of the motorcycle club and doing things together. So you didn't haphazardly get a bike and start just riding with him. I mean, you I think you were an officer, you know, in the club. So my hat goes off to you because many times that's what we have to do.
Well, what she did was she steps outside of her comfort zone to get involved in something she never thought she would be interested in. Not only did she get interested in it, she fell in love with it, and now is an officer of the club that she's in.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to the scripture that I read, which was Ephesians 5:28. And at the end of 28, it says, and that is how husbands ought to love their wives. They're really doing themselves a favor since they're already one in marriage. And she just experienced that. She was really doing herself a favor by getting involved with the motorcycle riding. Why? Because she ended up getting exactly what she wanted, and even she exclaimed that the bond is even stronger now between her and her husband. I bet you they probably ride more together now than they do with their friends,
Probably
you know,
so.
Because she said that's their bonding time, you know. And I think every couple needs to find that thing, you know, to go back to that thing that drew you all together in the first place
and date each other.
Right. You have to. You have to. I try to tell Rachel that all the time.
Speaking of that, I was going to say, it's time for a date night. You don't have to tell me. I already know.
It's date night.
We should have a date night. We just got to get our babysitter went away to college.
Yes, we lost. Oh, my goodness.
Going to college and stuff in New York.
We lost a great babysitter.
She lived right in our subdivision.
Hurt my heart. I didn't want her to go. Not because it was New York, but because I was going to lose a babysitter. Is that selfish?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because she was also your volleyball player.
Yeah, she was.
You did have some type of bond with her.
Yeah.
But needless to say, that's just our little side woes. But you know, I think we're coming up on the end of this. I think we've addressed some really good comments. I appreciate you guys, your feedback. Shaquita, you were on it tonight.
Yes, she was. And look, let me just say this too. You know, we're looking to discuss some topics that you all are interested in. So, you know, if you all have some subjects that you want us to cover, please go to Jimmy and Rachel Rogers on Facebook and put in the message box the subject that you would like for us to discuss. Mm-hmm. And Rachel and I will spend some time researching that thing, and we'll have an open discussion about it, because our goal is to help marriages thrive.
That's right.
And we give people little tidbits and nuggets that and tools that they can use in the midst of the moment.
Right.
Because in the heat of the moment is when we mess up everything.
Right. And I always like to tell people, between the two of us, we have almost 30 years of marital experience. Not all of those were together. However, there are things we've learned that were great things, and you can even learn from things that were not so great. But we want to be able to use those experiences to empower others. And don't forget the 5 love languages. We use this book every now and then. I use it as a resource. Sometimes I have to go back and read up and figure out how am I going to make this man feel love, because this is my ministry.
It's not hard.
This is what the Lord has called me to do, and I take it very seriously.
Well, guys, look, again, thank you all so much for joining us on Relationship Real Talk. And if you find yourself in a situation where you and your spouse just need a third party to kind of help you all navigate through some rough terrain, reach out to us at rrcgroup.org and just go to our service page and see how we can help you. Fill out the questionnaire and it'll come directly to our email, and we will return your call within 24 hours to set up some type of a conference call or meeting with you so we can help you get toward the area of thriving. Our goal really is to help you achieve God's best for your marriage. So until the next time, peace.
You guys have a good one.